All right, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video, we'll be doing our round 12 preview um, for the 2023 NRL season. As usual with our preview, we'll start off with, the most popular trades, and we'll just do the traded out and traded in. So the most popular trade out this week is just Joey Manu. I guess this is a bit of an interesting one because obviously he's been playing well since moving to 5'8", but now has this ankle injury. Won't play this week. Next week won't play because of the bye. But the report suggests that he could be back as soon as round 14. So 2 weeks is always an awkward one. Um, and I guess this probably depends on your number of trades overall, your round 13 coverage, all those factors when you put them into play. But I'd be inclined to hold, um, because obviously if he's continuing to play at 5'8", he is a really great super coach option. And you'd also think perhaps even if he doesn't, in round 16, when the Roosters do play an Origin bye round, that he'll be playing fullback. So I think he's a hold, but I can understand why people would sell. Number two on the list is Zach Hosking, and I would have had him as the number one trade out this week. He's dipping in price. Panthers' buy schedule isn't great. Liam Martin is back in the team, so you'd anticipate sooner rather than later that Hosking may drop out. As I talked about in the stock market video, which has now been uploaded again. Yeah, there was a little error with the recording of it. Unfortunately. And so I had to sort of reformat it this morning to get it up and working. As I was saying there, probably the one thing that saves him is that Scott Sorensen can move into the middle rotation. Um, but I think it's the right option to get off of him at this point. Paul Alamotti is the third most popular the trade out, so I guess a lot of people getting off him, getting into maybe a Billy Smith or there might have been some crazies that earlier in the week went for a Valence Tafare. Um, and I think that it does make sense if you bring in Billy Smith, like you don't make much money out of the trade, but with his projected cash generation, Billy Smith will be worth the same as Paul Alamotti next week. So um, the one advantage of holding on to Alamotti is the buy coverage is a bit better. So the Bulldogs play 16 and 19. But they do miss out in round 17, so that's just one thing to consider there as well. Charles Nickel Clockstad is the fourth most popular sell, and he's one I did think about sort of removing from more so the Bulldog project side this week. But the thing is, he's just got a ridiculously good work rate, and you know, attacking stats will come off the back of that. He probably hasn't been getting them the last couple of weeks, which is why he's returned a couple of 40s. But he keeps putting himself in the frame. So, um, yeah, it's one of those ones again. I can understand why people would want to sell. Like I said, I thought about it, but honestly, if I had to pick between the two, I'd go Manu over Clockstar, which obviously most people have. Um, but if he is your downgrade option to get in a Billy Smith or something, that's probably okay. Max Vianney there, number 5, and I think especially now that Hook's gone. Zach Lomax is back. Yeah, I think this is sort of the reason why we did trade him in last week. I did talk about the fact that even if he got axed and didn't play around 13, he'd still have 70k more on his head than Valence Tafare. And as it turns out, that was the correct call. Obviously, if you wanted to save a trade, the actual correct call was to bring in Billy Smith a week early. But you can't predict these sort of things. So you just gotta play the hand you have in front of you. Jackson Ford at number 6. So I guess If you were going to trade him out, I would have done it last week because he's missed now this week the second week he misses with the bye. But he does play round 13, and as long as he's playing 80 minutes, or as long as he's fit and healthy, I should say, he's playing 80 minutes. Unfortunately, has had a couple of HIA issues, so that some people might not want to take that risk, but when he is on the field, he stays on the field and he scores points, and he will do so next week, I believe. Davey Moale, so I guess people getting off to bring in Harry Edwards, so I'd say, yep, that is a perfect trade. It seems sideways in terms of the cash, but um, Edwards definitely has a bit more upside. So great call. Franklin Pele, I think the same sort of deal. People, finding a bit of cash and getting out of him into Edwards, so that's fine. Adam Reynolds, so yeah, I do tend to agree. Although in saying that, if you are holding him, if you did have him, I was assuming you were holding him for around 13. So he will be back for that. It is only a 1 week HIA situation. So, um, yeah, but again, I wouldn't tell anyone to hold a halfback when, that means that you haven't got a Cleary or a Hines in your side. And Sonia Taruva, so yeah, I mean, he has got a nice sort of break even again. I think it's in the teens. But again, if he's your ticket to get Billy Smith in, then I don't think that's the worst trade in the world. So talk about trading in options, and the first or the number one trading option by a great distance is Billy Smith, and rightly so. So the Roosters, have had two poor performances in terms of the scoreboard, but he's pumped out a 75 average, I think it is. Hang on, I can bring it up here, can't I? Break evens. Excuse me there. 76 average, there you go. So I was about right. Negative 62 break even. Playing the Dragons this week, new coach might inspire them a bit, but I think it could end up, being a good opportunity for the Roosters to bounce back. And if Billy Smith gets some attacking stats on top of what he's produced so far, then, we will be absolutely cheering. Number two on the list is Harry Edwards, and I agree with that as well as, the second best cheapie option. Um, as I talked about in the SuperCoach video, for those that missed it, I will go through it again. Harry Edwards is in a situation a bit like Jacob Kiraz last year at the Dogs, where he couldn't play in the first 10 rounds because he's not in the top 30 of the squad, but now you can play your players outside of the top 30. And with the Bulldogs salary cap issues, this is the reason why they've held off these sort of players from their top 30 squad, even though, they're more than ready to go. So I do predict Harry Edwards will have the 13 jersey for at least a few more weeks. Maybe when Luke Thompson comes back, he would force his way into the starting side. But even then, I would suggest that TPJ will revert back to the bench in that case. So yeah, he is the sort of player that the Bulldogs could use at 13. He has that work rate, a bit like a Josh King type. So we're not expecting 94 points every week, but he does have that little bit of upside because he just works so hard in and around the ball. Um, Number three, Ruben Garrick. So I think he is I guess the target premium this week, just due to the fact that his price has bottomed out and he's now going to move back up in price. Manly's buy coverage is really nice at this time of year. So yeah, so if you're looking for an upgrade option or maybe like a sideways option from Joey Manu, you could go Garrick. I'd try and find a different way if possible, but if that's the only way, then that's fair enough. Number four, Ben Travojevic. So um, yeah, I think I agree with the trade in, but also the placing on the list. He's got a few weeks there on the edge where he'll get some decent minutes instead of playing that bench role coming on in the last 15, 20 minutes. Um, They do have like Carl Lawton sitting on the bench who could take some minutes from him, but Lawton can also play a bit of hooker. So it'll be interesting to see how the minutes shake up, which is why um, some people could use a trade boost and get the three sort of cheap options in this week, or two of the cheap options and an upgrade. But I think out of the three cheap options that are there, Travojevic is the one you can sit and wait on. Just give him a week. His price isn't going to get out of control. I'm pretty sure his break even is slightly in the negative, but you know, I think even if he goes big, he'll make 40, 50k. He won't be more than 300k next week. So, um, there's definitely scope to trade him in at that point. Joe Tarpany at number 5, so a really good or round 13 in particular coverage, also Origin coverage. Um, as I discussed again in the stock market video, if Horsburgh, Hudson Young get named for Queensland and New South Wales respectively, I think I said that in the right order. But yeah, he'll definitely take up more responsibility in that forward pack. So yeah, I bought him in early in the season, but this was the main reason why, as I knew he would come good in this part of the season. Hylam Lukey at number 6. So I know the buy coverage is nice and the break even is nice. Well, actually, sorry, I don't even think the break even's that good. I think he's got positive break even, doesn't he? I forget already. Yeah, 14. That's still okay, but he's not going to score 100 every week. He doesn't play 80 minutes every week. I don't think he's played 80 minutes this season. I know he's sort of had injuries and coming back from injury. Um, but yeah, I think for 150k less or thereabouts, you could get the other second rower, Jack Gajeski, who would probably do just as good a job over the next few weeks. So um, I would avoid Lukey. But yeah, like I said, there's definitely better options at the position and the price. Kalen Ponga, so a really interesting one. It depends how he fits into the Queensland Origin team as to how valuable this pick is. If he's obviously got a spot there for Queensland, then yeah, I think he's going to miss out on those games through Origin. Um, but if he's a bit overlooked because Reece Walsh plays fullback, and they already run a two hooker rotation, which means there probably isn't a bench utility spot available. Um, yeah, he could be a really handy pod during those first two buy rounds. Jermaine Hopgood, yep. So outside chance of making the Queensland team. So if possible, I would just wait one more week. I know his break even is quite good, and so he will keep going up. Oh no, 63. Sorry, who am I thinking of? Don't know. Someone else. So, he's probably not going to make too much more money this week. So he's not going to get out of control. What's happened here? Lost all me. I'll just quickly rotate back around. There we go. We're back. Oh, it's not working. Hey, there we are. Yeah, so, you could wait a week just to be sure. But yeah, he's got supreme buy coverage, so a really good get. So Valence to Fare at number 9. As I said, this might be a few of the Alamotti to Fare trades. Should actually have a look back at the most trades. It doesn't appear there. I guess we're not enough numbers. But yeah, obviously he's not a trading. Yeah, he's I guess if you are looking for enough this early in the season, it's not a bad one to get on, but it's way too early for that. That's something we think about maybe towards round 19, getting ready for that. So don't get far in. Jerry Marshall King at number 10. So yeah, really nice pick at hooker. Um, yeah, I wish, I had the money to upgrade to him. I had to sort of take the budget option with Reece Robson, but yeah, Marshall King is a really good pick. Could be a season long keeper. So totally agree with that trade. So, in terms of, I guess, captain options, I almost forgot them again. So let's have a look. We'll look at all coaches first. So Nico Hines still very popular, maybe off the back of last week, but I think also the fact that he's playing Newcastle, who aren't the strongest defense going around, um, makes that a really popular choice. Uh, Nathan Cleary is obviously the other popular one playing the Broncos. I guess playing on the Thursday night makes it a little bit trickier if you wanted to VC sort of those options, but go on the straight C sometimes is the nice option on the Thursday night. Just get it out of the way early, and if you back Cleary in, you back him in. So that's fair enough. Latrell Mitchell, so as the third most popular captaincy choice, he's been playing well. Parramatta, they can produce anything, so good, bad, somewhere in the middle. And Dave Fafita is the other sort of, I guess, pod captaincy option, playing against the Bulldogs. And given the form he's in, I think his 3 round average is over 100. It could very easily happen again, which is scary for me as a Bulldogs fan. But I'm still backing the boys in to go all right this week. I guess a couple of pod options there, but a lot of the familiar faces could be um, some ghost players in amongst all that. So in terms of VC, so Reece Walsh playing the first game, that's always a good option for the VC. South, I think they play on Friday, so get in before Hines. That's fair enough. But yeah, you can see it's pretty evenly spread. Like Reece Walsh is the top option. He's only 7.8%. So it's sort of take your pick. These guys are all guns. No one really jumps out as too much of a pod shout with that. No, so we won't worry about that. All right, but in terms of, I guess, my team this week and how we're going to shape up. So initially, I did have the one trade. So Max Vianney, what's happened there? Hasn't traded out. Max Vianney out and Billy Smith in. Computer's struggling a bit. Don't know why. This is supposed to be a good one. But then I guess the other trade that I've since considered and decided that I wanted to do um, is to trade Taruva out. All right, so I know he's going to make a bit of money this week. Um, but what I'm going to do is swing Peachy back, swing Tohu back, and I'm going to bring in Edwards. So, I guess the reason for this, there's a couple, as I've initially spoke about already. I think his job security is good in the Bulldogs side. And if he keeps getting named at 13, he'll also get dual position in the last sort of um, round of upgrade, dual position upgrades. So it's not till round 18, but it's definitely one to keep in the back pocket. Um, and I guess the final reason why I'm thinking about bringing in Edwards is news came out this morning that Joe Offahengawe has signed with the Eels and will move. Don't think this week, but next week, round 13, could be playing for the Eels. Which obviously for me, I've got Wiramu Greg. You'd think he's going to be the one that would move back to the bench to make way for Offa Hengawe, which, could make this a bit of a bum pick. It's not the worst thing in the world given, he's quite cheap and I do have 3 backup options. But I may want to, take his cash that he's generated. He's made close to 100K for us. And that could be useful elsewhere in the squad. So just sort of maybe a bit of a defensive move in that sense too. And yeah, like I said, I think Edwards is a really good pick. Obviously, I do have the boost, and I could try to bring in Ben Travojevic as well. but I just want to wait a week and check before I make that move. Um, yeah, so let's complete those trades. And so then the team set up this week, there's probably not going to be too much different, to be honest. Because, well, I guess Robson does play slightly. Excuse me, got the hiccups. Uh, Robson does play slightly before Harry Grant, so you could swap them around. He's not going to be the VC, by the way. Tarpany plays in the last game, um, but we may or may not want to play Edwards in the 17. Those three are locked in at the second row with Harris and Ford both on the bye. And Lemuelu will come in for Manu, and Billy Smith will come in for the Clockstad. Oops, that didn't work. There we go. So I guess the decisions we need to make. Oh, yeah, it did go through twice, didn't it? Third time lucky. So I guess the decisions we do have to make is whether we go with Tyrone Peachy against the Broncos or Alamotti up against the Titans. And I guess Titans have been in okay form. Broncos have been playing really well and they're at Suncorp. So I think maybe just the home ground advantage will get Alamotti across the line for us. Yeah, so we'll stay with those four. And then the last question is around the last reserve position. So Turbo, Cleary, uh, Harry Grant, all locked in, obviously. They've got, decent options in the starting before them too. So it's whether we want to play Peachy, Katoa against the Storm. I'd probably rule him out straight away. Schuster or Edwards. So, um, I'm happy to sit back and see how Schuster goes. So put a line through him. And I think, again, I'll just take the solid base of Edwards over the upside of Peachy this week. You know, um, yeah. So I guess you you could go all right either way, but that's I think the way I'm going. So I could bring Edwards into the side, Tarpany playing later. Um, but I'm probably too late to swap around then anyway. I guess you could Schuster's in the last game as an emergency reserve sort of situation. So we'll run with it like that. All right, so I think I've set everything up right for once. So as you can see, a bit of a war chest for next week. I think, yeah, the move next week will probably be to, well, I'm not even sure. Like, we do want to get Lockie Miller into the side for that bye coverage, but if you actually have a look at our round 13 coverage, we've got Robson, we're not counting Haas. So Tarpany and Greg, so that's three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I guess we're thinking Turbo might be a chance. So you might actually have 12 already. But if not, we'll try to find space for a couple. It's sort of hard because if you look at the players that aren't playing, we've got Grant, who's a keeper, Edwards that we've just brought in, and covers the back half. Nikora and Preston are in the same boat as Edwards, obviously. Um, Lafita, so he's a seasoned keeper along with Hines and Cleary. Manu, I think, is a good keeper option. Billy Smith, is a cash cow, so we want to hang on to him for a bit. Alamotti and Buller, so again they'll provide a lot of cover in 16 and 19 for us. And yeah, so probably Tyrone Peachy is the odd man out, so we can upgrade him. But then trying to find another upgrade target might be a bit tricky. So we might be really banking on Turbo not getting picked for game one to get a 13 in round 13. And failing that, it might not be the worst thing in the world because we have got a few players where we're going to be well positioned for round 16 and 19. And I think we'll definitely make up some overall ground during that time. So I guess that's how it stands at the moment, going into round 12. If you've got any thoughts around the team or moves you would make, or um, maybe I do need to trade someone out like an Alamotti or someone that maybe I'm too attached to as a Dogs fan. Please let me know in the comments if you've been enjoying the content. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. So I think I'm up around 40 subscribers now, which is pretty crazy, considering that it only started a few months ago. So thanks to everyone who has already, and thanks for watching. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.